utilization of the forest resources. In the case of the pharmaceutical industry, permit me to introduce myself. My name is Berta Lucy. I am the Chief of the Secretariat of the Initiative of Forests in South Africa, or CAFI, and it is a pleasure for me to moderate this event. So I would like to thank the organizers, the governments, the Gabonese and French government, and all the participants. And I would like to present you the speakers who are here to share their experiences during this event. But first of all, we are going to welcome our guest, our honorable guest, His Excellency, Mr. Antonio Francisco de Assis, Minister of Agriculture and Breeding of Angola. Excellency. Unfortunately, I'm going to speak in Portuguese.
Gostaríamos de felicitar e agradecer por esta oportunidade de participação neste evento. Agradecemos a todas as autoridades do Gabão e da França por esta excelente iniciativa. A sua realização é importante para as florestas dos nossos países e do mundo em geral. Angola partilha com os países da Bacia do Congo, através da província de Cabinda, uma mancha considerável deste importante ecossistema florestal, localmente conhecido como a Floresta de Mayombe. O Estado angolano,
the Angolan state attaches a very great importance to the forestry industry, considering this sector as one of the major industry for the economic development of our country. According to the results of the first inventory of the forest published in December 2016, Angola covers at least 60%, among which
está plantada, o que corresponde a cerca de 55,6%.
5% of our territorial surface. In the government of Angola vision, the management of forest resources should go through a holistic approach that lies on concept of sustainability to create bases and perspectives for industrialization and modernization that are balanced in the system, increase competitivity, turn it more attractive to investors, and in this way increase levels of employment man-made and making its contribution more effective and expressive in the diversification process of education and national GDP. We bet in the promotion of planted forests for daily recovery of degraded area and production of raw materials for industry. And there is a national program for renovation and extension of former areas occupied by forest areas, aiming at the reforesting of 2,000 hectares. And the scope of measures that the government has taken to reorganize our forest sector do allow us to highlight the implementation of exploitation regime by contract of forest concession in exploitation of annual licenses. And it's mandatory to reforest the area to ensure the sustainability of resources and the area. The suspension of a period of 3 years for timber export that is non-manufactured or processed to stimulate growth and expansion in the country of a strong timber industry that is modern and competitive and make manufactured products more accessible in the national and the markets abroad. The bringing of timber products to facilitate the work of control of timber coming from cutting areas and its commercialization both internally and externally. The creation of a national forest guard and wildlife protection to protect the forest and wildlife and control circulation and trade of forest wild animals. And Angola intends to promote the exploitation of carbon credits as well. In this way, we started a set of contacts with world entities and with countries that do have some experience in this domain. To conclude, once again, we would like to thank the government of Gabon, to the President of the Republic of Gabon, all government members in Gabon and French for the invitation that has been addressed to us. And we feel very happy to be here among you to hear your experiences. Certainly, this will be very useful for the work we have been conducting. Thank you very much.
Excellence, merci beaucoup pour vos mots d'ouverture et pour avoir partagé l'expérience de votre pays et vos objectifs. Donc maintenant, j'aimerais vous présenter notre panel, nos panélistes. Par contre, nous n'avons pas assez de place sur scène, donc on va faire ça en deux temps. Donc, j'appelle sur scène la professeure Blandine Akandenge et pendant qu'elle monte, je vous la présente, donc enseignante-chercheur et doyenne de la faculté de pharmacie à l'Université des sciences de la santé ici à Libreville. Monsieur Christophe Masson, directeur général de Cosmetic Valley. Madame Shirley Biou, présidente fondatrice de Cadalis. Madame Julie Berti-Landry, fondatrice de Upcycled. Et Madame Leonela Gaël Ilama, fondatrice de la marque Endossi. Donc, bienvenue à tous nos panélistes. Donc, ces experts sont ici pour nous rappeler de l'importance des ressources génétiques de cette région d'Afrique centrale dans la cosmétopée et la pharmacopée mondiale. Vous voulez peut-être prendre la place? C'est plus confortable. Donc, en 2011, le Gabon a signé le protocole de Nagoya sur l'accès et le partage juste et équitable des avantages liés à la Convention sur la diversité biologique. En effet, depuis même avant la conférence de Nagoya, les pays de l'Afrique centrale explorent de nombreuses opportunités dans l'objectif de pouvoir faire bénéficier à ces peuples et au monde entier de leurs connaissances dans l'utilisation de ces ressources naturelles, notamment dans la cosmétique et dans la pharmaceutique. Mais malgré tous ces efforts, nous constatons que la connaissance mondiale et l'utilisation de ces ressources ne sont pas encore optimisées. Donc nous sommes ici afin de discuter de l'énorme potentiel des forêts.
Therefore, we are here to talk about the potential of forests in the region and want to discuss on the scientific way of using these forests in we want to see how this can be beneficial for the people. So when they know about that expertise, and we need to come up with a balance on how we can help the populations benefit from those resources. And we also want to work for the diversity of the region. So this is very important. So as you can see, we have other panelists, and we try to identify experts with the different backgrounds in the in the academic world, in the private sector, public sector, representatives of riparian communities, so that we can explore this topic in depth. Therefore, for setting the scene, let me give the floor to Professor Kendenje to tell us about this issue. Thank you, Professor.
Ah, d'accord.
Pardon, oui, j'ai envoyé un PDF, mais j'ai la clé USB, hein. Est-ce qu'on peut les faire défiler l'une après l'autre en PDF? Parce que normalement, non, c'est pour ça que je vous ai demandé. Je donne la clé USB, c'est mieux? Ah, non, c'est bon?
C'est bon. Et vous
Non.
allez être obligé
D'appuyer là.
Oui, voilà. Parce que c'est pas un PDF, c'est pas un...
Oui.
Mais comme ça, c'est comme c'est pas un...
C'est pas un PowerPoint. Oui, mais donc je peux donner le PowerPoint, c'est mieux, c'est plus facile.
Oui, donnez le PowerPoint.
Tenez.
On a un petit problème technique. C'est un...
Ça bon? Ce micro? Monsieur le ministre.
Honorable Minister, moderator of this panel, honorable ministers, ladies and gentlemen, our introduction for today is about the valorization of cosmetics and pharmaceutical products in the framework of the Nagoya Protocol. The objectives of cosmetics and pharmaceuticals are to safeguard the know-how, the local know-how in terms of beauty products and pharmaceutical products, so that we want to make a census of products and plants for cosmetics and traditional pharmaceuticals. We want to include the local populations in the preservation of biodiversity. We want to develop an economic activity locally with the participation of SMEs and international.
De la beauté par monsieur le
Commercialize the resources issued from biodiversity in the respect of the Protocol of Nagoya based on APA, which is the sharing of advantages, access, and value to biodiversity. So in the first aspect, we will present you the cosmetic plants that are medicinal plant, and we categorize them basing ourselves on the most known by the local population, which are aber and oil plant, and we will present you the essential oil plant and plant for scars. In the cosmetic plant for butter and oil plant, the most known is coconut tree. Here, Cocos lucifera, but we also have oil palm tree from which an oil is created issued from the pulp of fruit and also issued from almond. And it belongs to the family of Isonophynaceae and Acineasa from Latin language. And It's
émollient utilisé en
it's used
cosmétique.
in cosmetic,
Nous avons dirigé
and
récemment une
recently
étude
there's
sur
been a
les
study
propriétés
on the properties
antifongiques
and
de
the fungus
Trilobiae
anti-fungus
triloba de la
property
famille
of
des Annonaceae
Antrilopa from
et
the
qui a
Annunaceae
été utilisé
family,
comme
and that is
potentiel
used in medicinal
antiéliaconier pour les soins sol
healing in
cardiaque
order
et
to
la teigne.
uh, heal skin
L'autre assez connu
diseases.
est
Another
Bigonia
one
africana.
is
Ceci
Bigona
se,
africana,
nous l'avons
and
découverte
we discovered
particulièrement
it
au Bénin,
in
alors
Benin
c'est bien présent en Afrique
when it is
centrale.
present in Central Africa as well.
Toujours dans cette catégorie
Still
de
in
plantes
this
cosmétiques
category
à
of
huile et à
cosmetic
beurre, nous
plant,
pouvons citer l'avocatier,
we can also
dont
mention
le Persea americana de la
avocado,
famille des
the
Lauracées,
family of
qui est
Lauraceae,
utilisé dans pas
used
mal de gels
in
corporels nourrissants et même
very
des shampoings
much
à
of
base d'huile
lotion
d'avocat.
based on
Dans la famille
pear or
des
avocado
Malvacées,
oil and
nous
avocacé.
avons le
That's the third
cacaoyer,
one. You have
Theobroma
cocoa
cacao,
based
qui est
oil
largement utilisé.
used.
Récemment, nous avons
Recently,
récemment
we
à
participated
Abidjan,
in an
Africa,
exhibition
le
in
centre de
Abidjan
l'expo, et la
on
plupart
health, and most of
des PME
the
ivoiriennes
SMEs in
présentaient leurs
Côte
produits
d'Ivoire that
cosmétiques
exposed
et
their
c'était à
cosmetic
base de beurre de
product was
cacao,
based
qui est
on
donc
cocoa,
utilisé
cocoa that is
aussi
used
bien comme excipient
as
en
an
pharmacie,
excipient in pharmacy,
autant utilisé
long
dans
used
l'industrie pharmaceutique
in the
comme excipient
pharmaceutical
pour les suppositoires
industry for
et actuellement
suppository,
remplacé
and
par un produit
replaced
qui est
by a
le
chemical product
polyéthylène
that is
glycol,
polyethylene
parce
glycol,
que justement l'industrie
because
pharmaceutique
the pharmaceutical
l'a
industry
préféré puisqu'elle se trouve
preferred,
partout assez chez
they
ces
are
industries
associated,
pharmaceutiques. Il y
these
a que
two
le beurre de cacao
industries
comme
are
usage
associated. They prefer to keep the
alimentaire
cocoa butter
et
for
cosmétique plutôt que comme
food
excipient.
consumption better than excipient.
Dans cette même catégorie
In the same
de
category
plantes à huile et à beurre,
of
nous
butter
avons
and oil
quatre
plant,
plantes
we have four
appartenant à la
plants that
famille des
belong to the family
sapotacées.
of Saputaceae.
Euh, Durant longtemps,
For a long time,
le monde de la cosmétique vantait
the
les
world
vertus de
of
cette
cosmetic
propriété.
were praising
Et en
the
Afrique centrale,
properties of this
plusieurs
plant, and in
personnes
Central
achetaient
Africa,
du
so
beurre de
many people
karité
would buy
venant d'Afrique de
karité
l'Ouest.
butter that will come
Alors que
from
nous,
West
en Afrique
Africa.
centrale,
Meanwhile, in Central Africa,
nous avons
we also have
deux karités.
also
Mayolela
the butter
notisiama, Moabi,
karité butter from Moabi
et Tegenela
and
africana de
Tejamela
Duka. Lorsque
abikala.
l'on compare les
So when
fruits,
you compare the fruits,
toutes, toutes ces sapotacées
all these
contiennent
sapotacea
à partir
have
desquelles
seeds
on
from
extrait les
which we
amandines.
extract
L'huile
oil,
d'argan,
and the argan oil.
on parle d'huile d'argan,
We talk about the
alors que
argan
le
oil.
bananier
Meanwhile,
a
the argan
exactement le même
tree
fruit
has the
que
same fruit
le
as
douka
dukkha
et le moabi.
and
Ce sont
Mwabi.
les quatre fruits
These are the four types that look
qui
alike
génèrent du
and that
beurre
generate
et à partir du
butter,
beurre,
and from the
justement,
butter,
l'industrie
the
pharmaceutique peut,
pharmaceutical industry
et l'industrie
can,
cosmétique
and
peut
the
faire de
cosmetic
l'huile.
industry can also make
Nous
up oil.
sommes dans ce sommet de
So we
valorisation
are in the summit of
des arbres
valorization
issus de nos forêts.
of trees
Une
issued
bouteille
from our
d'huile
forest.
d'argan
So a
pour
bottle of argan oil in
17
Libreville
000 CFA, une bouteille
pharmacy is about
17 000 francs.
17,000 CFA francs
Alors que
for
nous
50
avons
centiliter.
l'équivalent
When you
en
have the
Afrique
equivalent in
centrale,
Central Africa,
qui est le douka et le
that is
moabi,
Duka and Mwabi,
nous
from
voyez
which we can also
que ce
create
sont
the same oil.
quatre plantes
These are
qui
the
sont
four
identiques,
plants that
bien
are
que
um,
étant
like
justement
the
de genres
neighboring
différents.
plants, but just with different
Nous
types.
passons dans la
Now
catégorie
let's go
des
to
plantes
the category of
à huile essentielle.
essential oil.
La plus connue est Canagan
The
odorata
most known
appartenant à la
is
famille des
Catogaran
Annonaceae.
okanata from the
Et
Annunaceae,
en cosmétique,
but in
on utilise
cosmetics
également
we also
le
use
frangipanier
um,
dont il
frangipanier,
existe plusieurs
and
espèces
we have different
c'est à
types
partir
and from the flour we make lotion and different types of perfumed oil from that plant. For Central Africa, we also have several bureaus that produce essential oil like okume. Okume is used for their anti-mosquitoes properties, but also for nails products uh, that is used by many European companies. And in the category of essential oil, we will talk about the poissé, Sibon Pocoson, Cypratis, which is made out of citron, and Hypogonum nitrous. The cosmetic plant also scar repairer and herbacea. They can have nourishing properties like gumbo, Espiculus solantus, that we will see properties for shampooing. The Protocol of Nagoya, based on the equitable and just share of the advantages, one of the three pillars of the central objectives on the Convention of the Diversity that entered in force in 1993. The Protocol of Nagoya was ratified in 2010, and Gabon is the first ratifying country in 2011. The obligation of the Protocol of Nagoya, it is to elaborate text on the exploitation of genetic resources, but also based on traditional knowledges and the advantages that can come from the use and the resources of associated utilization. So you have to protect the traditional knowledge and associate the scientists that we are for the preservation of biodiversity. So as a conclusion, the medicinal or plants are a source of revenue, and many are interested by it. And the only exploitation is through the pharmaceutical use, formation of cluster, and collaboration with the industrial. But what will be the part of the indigenous people and community people? And we also encourage local processing. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Professor, for locating us.
Plantes et aussi commencer à explorer les enjeux liés au protocole de Nagoya. Donc maintenant, nous allons poursuivre avec une discussion.
We will continue with a discussion on the opportunities for Central Africa while focusing on the markets. And we have two panelists with us, starting with Madame Leona Gael. I would like to know oh, you were just behind me. I didn't see you. So, as entrepreneur and woman, I think I would like you to share your experience.
Bonsoir tout le monde.
Hello, everyone. I am Leona Gaeli Liama, founder of the Cosmetic, and the OC issued from biological and agricultural cosmetic and from first product. So it's sued from Mobi butter and cocoa oil. So today this company it began in 2016, and it's been a long way from the production because we began producing using the local raw material while allowing farmers to cultivate regarding some missions like the creation of a shampooing based on gumbo. It's a shampooing that can activate hair grow and make hair even soft. So we distribute in the major shops in Gabon, so Libreville and Port-Gentil. So this company made from 50,000 to a distribution, a local distribution, where the properties everyone can give a testimony. This is a major brand in Gabon, and that represents well our country. So from the raw material extracted for some collected from farmers, so there's a collection done with the Moabi butter. It's difficult to extract it, so we extract it in a raw way, and we use the perfume without any conservative. So we have 7 employees with turnover from 2019 to 2021, turnover that varied because we have a turnaround of 25 million francs, and then in 2020 a turnover of 33 million, and in 2021 a turnover of 61 million. I'm just giving you figures just to show you the capacity of this company going from the scratch, uh, only with only 50,000 francs. We just had the audacity to put all these things in place, and behind all of that, what I can wish and ask is an assistance, because behind this company there were trainings, there were Gabonese people working, not only Gabonese people, because we also have foreigners working in this company. So what I can recommend is that I'm not supposed to be the leader. What's best? The ideal thing is to have people with me. You know, the forest are huge, they're immense. It's possible to create jobs and train people in these areas. So this is what I can say. Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam. And said earlier, our panelists come from various and interesting backgrounds. So at the end of the sessions, you will be able to ask questions to deepen the knowledge and know their experience. Still in the same vein, focusing on the challenges to the access of the market. So, Director General of Cosmetic Valley, organization that coordinates the subsidiary of France Cosmetic. What are your thoughts regarding this great question to the access to the market? Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. I'd like to hail Professor Akenege that we received in France not long ago to work on this issue of cosmetic products, and with whom we've had collaboration for close to 10 years now. But before we talk about markets, I'd like to talk about cosmetic products. Cosmetic products is the analogy with pharmacopy, with the biodiversity, and for us, finally, when we talk about cosmetic products, this is a legacy and a whole history of our civilization that has an impact and that related man to the forest or the forest industry. And the lack of knowledge or a better knowledge of this issue is a leverage for the preservation of the biodiversity, a leverage for economic development that I'll talk about. Uh, Cosmetic products are not really discussed, and today this is a real problem. It's linked to the fact that it is transmitted just orally that is being lost with everything happening in the world. So to me, we need to react. We need to act together collectively to keep the knowledge, preserve the diversity, share the knowledge, and develop, and for each country, add value economy based on biodiversity. So the access to the market now, it's not easy. But we've seen your products in shops in Libreville, so well done for this success. The market is beyond the market beyond Africa, beyond Gabon. It's 18 million billion people, 18 billion francs. Sorry, this is a market of 5% increase. No matter what happens, even in crisis, we have 5% increase annually, and an expectation of increase in Africa as elsewhere in the world. So obviously, for countries owning these resources, this is a real opportunities of economic development. Why? Because it can create companies that will develop cosmetic ingredients that can be fabricated or manufactured and then exported, and then create brands for hair, etc. And in order to succeed, there's one imperative, that of the quality and the respect of regulations. Regulations to have access to the market is obvious. When you look at globally, at the global level, we need to guarantee the security of the consumer and also guarantee the security of the planet. So let's keep that in mind. We need to have a sustainable economy that goes through the quality and the respect of norms. This is not a detail of the regulation. That would take too much time. But just a few lines for the development of cosmetic products and brands. Today, at the world level, we have a regulation that makes it's a reference at the European level, and this European regulation, uh, globally speaking, the world countries are aligning themselves to the world market that we were talking about. This is for the end product. Now, for the ingredients, for sustainable use, the processing of these ingredients to have access to the market, there are a certain number of regulations to observe. The plant needs to be registered in CITES, otherwise we will be applying a certain number of rules. And for the European markets, for the use of raw materials, you need to be registered in the REACH regulation. This is a spec for difficult. So there's a whole approach, and you need to record the ingredients, and it only goes through the INKI. And for a case file, we talked about that in the introduction, the compliance and the rules given by Nagoya, etc. So these prerequisites, I wanted to insist on them because you cannot imagine developing an economy without these requirements for sustainability, which are the basis or the foundation for sustainable development economy. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Vous m'entendez? Ça passe? Oui. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Masson,
Comes from there.
pour votre présentation. Moi qui viens donc
Sorry, what is your name?
de l'Afrique centrale, où c'est un grand fonds qui... Alors ça passe pas, c'est ce que je me disais. Comme ça passe?
Is it okay now? I just wanted to thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Your presentation was quite interesting because in my introduction I said that I only managed the initiative for Central Africa Forest with $100 million. So it aims at protecting the forest in Central Africa, but also support countries to fight against the poverty and implement their agenda of development. So there's a discussion around the possible economy that the forest can present, and in the discussions that I have, it's much more mine against forest, and it's really interesting for the message to go through, and it has to go through. Otherwise, in Latin words, it would be so difficult. The chemical components will be so difficult to explain. So to me, this is something very interesting to discuss. And you were able to locate us on the potential of this market and represent ourselves for the countries that have these resources. Now, after this passage to the market that we saw from a local company in Gabon, from someone who represents the chain of the subsidiary, we will now talk about innovations in terms of sustainability in the cosmetic sector. So if we do not know well the potential, there are so many innovations to do. And we have two speakers, Madame Jolie Bertie Andreni and Madame Shirley Yu, who will talk about that that point. I don't know if you want to stay there or maybe come to the podium. It's up to you. It's totally up to you. I'll start with Madame Landry, the potential of innovation in this area. The upcycling, which is very trending. What are the methods that you have or that you need? Now, first of all, what it means and what you need exactly to 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 get there.
D'origine et je vis à Paris. Moi, j'ai surtout envie de
Well, I would like to take you to the forest and tell you about my story. When we talk about forest, for us, what does the forest mean? For us, the forest is a pharmacy. The forest is our medical doctor. My grandma was saying that the white people came and then they took the forest and they removed our medicines. And I think some of you can understand what it means. Because today when we are sick, what do? We go to the pharmacy. But some years ago, we went to the forest, we took the plants, and then we took the seeds, and then we got healed with those seeds. But today, I've decided to see the forest otherwise. We have so many foresters who are here today, and today the foresters are making so many waste. They are producing so much waste, and some of them are burning them, some of them are valuing them, and I have decided to use these waste of woods in order to use them as cosmetics. And we are working on a high products. I live in Paris, and I value what we can call today let's and clean. Some of you are going to say that they are co-products, but I will just tell you that they are waste. And finally, they are waste. And those wastes, I'm going to give them added values. So I mostly would like to take you into this adventure because I know that when you get out of here, you are going to look at those ways with another eye, just like I'm doing now. Because I remember that some years ago when I saw the foresters burning the waste, I told them that you have to be careful because what you are burning are very important for me, and I need those wastes, to make them very valued products. And it is very important to know that we can use them to make biodegradable products. And so many companies have come in this market. And today I would like to invite Africans, not just Gabonese, even though we are in Libreville, I would like to invite all the Gabonese because all of us, we have forests. Gabon is more than 80% forest. We have the Congo Basin, and then we've got a lot of waste there. And when I talk about forests, I'm talking about forests. And sometimes I talk to the foresters, and then they tell me that there are tons and tons of waste, and I just tell them I can use this waste, to process them into, products. And Africans have to stand up, Gabonese have to stand up and say that we've got, a treasury here under our feet, thrown, and we can use them to do a lot of things because the potential is so huge. that when we get out of here, you will be able to see them. Yesterday, I know that you couldn't see them, but today, when you get out of here, you will be able to see them. So I have this mission of sensitizing and Gabonese and Africans around the valuing of their waste. And today I've created a brand called Osilac, which means roots. Roots, my Africa, my France, my country, because we talked about regulation, and that regulation, I'm living it overnight because my company is based in Paris. So the constraints, the regulatory constraints, I leave them there, overnight. I know it doesn't mean anything. And for the African countries, I would like to demand that we have a pole, a laboratory pole, because we have the material, and they have what we need here. And I think that today we have to see this forum as an opportunity for these African countries that would like to develop their raw materials. So I think this is one part of what I would like to say. And the second part that I'm going to mention, I would like to say thank you to the foresters who have accepted that I go to the plantations, to recuperate those wastes. For me, it means a lot because I know that I need those, wastes. It's not their life. I know they don't care about it, and I've been with them for a long time. And sometimes they see me, they just say, Madam Landry, what are you doing with us? I just tell them, I am working in cosmetics, and I want us to work together hand in hand because you have decided to take the wood. So just give us these weights because we can take them freely in order to process them and get them to be cosmetics. So there are so many things we can do with them. And I told them, thank you. I said, thanks to the foresters who have accepted me to go to the plantations and then pick those wastes. And this project is also about creating jobs. Today, I've got tens of Gabonese who have accepted to work, and they go to the plantations, they pick the waste. So there is a job creating, which is, coming out of it. And I hope that our leaders, the Gabonese leaders, are going to accept to assist those young people who are, who are jobless, who are in difficult conditions. And today, I would like to stretch them my hands if they are ready to unclench the fist. And I hope that the authorities are going to listen, and they are going to open the doors to those young people because the opportunities are there. The opportunities are there. So I would like this opening to, to come for these Gabonese people who are coming to pick those timber waste. And they are working with coke because there are so many waste in coke that we have the possibility that to have a continuity around the jobs, which is not devaluing. Because for those young people who are picking, they are entrepreneurs. They can easily be entrepreneurs, and I am ready to assist them. And I've been here for the past 4 weeks, and I'm with them every day in order to, to pursue the file administratively. So this is the message that I would like to share with you. And I hope that I'll be back here in 2024 in order to show you those products which are made out of those woods. And I know that the powder today, I've been processed to CITEX, and I'm not happy about it because there are so many processes to carry out. And for 10 years, I've been talking about it. So they call me Madam Padu. It's not for nothing. And I hope that I'm going to have this authorization to carry on with my combat, with my fight, because my fight is not just about France. It's all over the world. It's worldwide. I value Africa. I value this knowledge that this ancestral knowledge that exists in Africa. As you know about it, is the oral tradition. Our generation is here to write a page of the history of this tradition which is vanishing. And I am here to raise awareness about it. Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam, for this, for having shared your experience with us. I find it really exceptional. Let me now go back to Madam Neer, who is going to tell us about the treasuries that she can see in the food parks generated from the agriculture, from the plantain sector. So we talked about it. So what can we find in the agricultural exploitation of plantain? Evening, everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be here, and I hope you have plantain here. Well, I am from Martinique, and we've had so many common points. I am African. I'm born African, I was born in Africa, particularly in Djibouti, and after that I spent my teenage in Martinique. So we are just a small island, so we are not too big. And then we have a huge biodiversity, and then we have more than 700 tree species. I mean, almost 500, so we are just small. So our traditional medicine has been oral because it was forbidden to the slaves. And for tens of years, we've been working, in order to widespread it, just like you are doing. So the valuing, the identification of the species have become one of our priorities. It's important for us to value this traditional knowledge, know how to do. So I have decided to deal, just like Julie, to do what we call the job seeking, because I did not have a personal land, but I came to understand that the weights are an opportunity, and the plantain for me is something very interesting because it's a sustainable resource. So why am I talking about sustainability? Because unlike the vegetable resources, I think we should ask ourselves the right questions. What should we produce? Because we have seen there are some regulations, there are some resources which can be renewed, and some of them could not be renewed. So I have this opportunity to work with the smallholder farmers, and then we go for picking, and we can go, in the picking, we can go and destroy the nature, which is not something good. So I work with the smallholder farmers who produce plantain. So the objective is to value the food lost by respecting the nature. So what I'm trying to say is that I went from the principle that I didn't want to make butter from the banana because it gives less money. So of course, I'm here to make a little money, but I want things to work without destroying the nature. So I am French, but I am also African. So all those vegetal oils, edible oils, and the butter, it is an ingredient which is transformed, which is processed, but it's not valued. And I am working on new technologies, which are technologies which are natural. So we do not use chemicals, but we do what we call extraction, so without affecting the environment. So let me just give you an idea about that. When you extract, a banana like this, a plantain, because we sometimes extract the oil from the pink banana. So just to tell you, just to give you an idea. Now let's take, for example, the price of a kg of banana. But if you take, for example, an active that you objectivize through research, you can sell it. It's exponential. I've even seen some people who are doing it, they are doing well and they are making money. So I'm telling you this because the issue is, what is the choice you would like to take? Would you just like to sell butter, to make butter, palm oil, cocoa? The cocoa, we know it because I know that in all the southern countries they have cocoa. But are you willing to go over innovation and then have a great margin? So this is what is important. So just to tell you that we've been doing this research for 10 years, and because we do not have an installation in Martinique, so I decided to go to the metropole, to France, to work in a faculty in Montpellier, and then we've got a lot of equipment, and for 10 years we've been carrying out those researches, and then we make some brevets, and we developed, some strategies. So this is a very interesting subject because at a certain time we always feel like coming back here in Africa and then get the necessary plans and equipment. And remember, I was in Martinique with Christian, and we have launched, we are a French department, so the collectivity of Martinique, the municipality of Martinique has initialized for the companies an initiative that I find very interesting, permitting the companies to create added value. And that allows us, to transfer competencies, technical and scientific and regulatory competencies. And Martinique has decided to launch a fundamental center of research in order to permit the companies to come with researches, on the ground instead of going elsewhere. Just to tell you that we are waiting for, the policies, the leaders to assist us in all these processes so that we can create added values in our different countries. So I went from nothing, and I do not come from the world of cosmetics. So I've just been initiated by a mother. And after that, I tried to train people. I also studied mathematics and science, but I didn't believe that one day I could win my life, in what I'm doing today. So I created this brand of cosmetics, and 10 years after, I came to do the analysis, and in the United States we've got a lot of trophies, and now I just heard that we have been nominated in Italy. So just to tell you that we can go from nothing and reach somewhere. So only with passion. And now we are entering up to 600 stores in the United States of America. But I've created this brand in the beginning, not because I wanted to make the brand, because nobody believed in those actives. But in France, they were joking. They said, people know banana like this. I know it, I just know the flower. I mean, the banana, when it's green, we can just cook it in water. So there are so many things that we can do. And then this banana, you can see like this, has a lot of, values. So what I'm trying to tell you is that there are so many utilities, so many links that we can do with the traditional usage with the fruits. So I created a brand as a concept. And because the mark is known, I mean, the brand is known all over the world, even in China, because we are trying to set up in China, Korea, Japan, United States, and Europe. So our next step is going to be to create a factory of procession in order to sell our products to the great brands of industry. And this year, this is a recognition. I'm here as an entrepreneur, but I'm also administrator of the French Union, which puts together the whole beauty industry. So I work with Gio, Real. For me, it's something very interesting because I'm just a small company. Just to tell you that the American dream still exists elsewhere. Let us not fix ourselves some limits. We have to go beyond where they are waiting for us. And research is very important. The scientific valuing is very important. So working with those agriculturers, I think it's something very important because they can teach you things that you don't know. They can teach you so many things. So this is the history of my company, going from the plants and then up and then go to the finished products by mastering all the different steps of the process. And just to give you an example regarding what Julie was saying right now, on your traditional medicine, you have okume here in Gabon, right? But this okume, let me ask you, how much is it? How much is the kg? I think it's less than €1 in Europe. So just to tell you, it was 23 euros. But can you imagine how much it's going to cost in kg? 23 euros, so something like that. But with the wood, what do we do with the wood? You can value the leaves, you can value the seeds, you can value the roots. There's a great French brand which has come with a brevet. And there are so many other products that you can use, to process and then transform it into a finished product. And then the okume, for example, can give you so many ramifications. It can come to so many ramifications, and then you can use it to make so many products. So that's the thinking, that's the conclusion that I came to when I saw those, those okume, just to tell you that you have something that has great value. You also have the sapiens. It's a plant. When you put it in the water, it's going to be like soap. So it's something natural. I use it in some products, an extract of the wood of Panama. So just to tell you that when you cut the wood, and that's what you were saying right now, don't throw the waste, because the flower, the leaves, all these are important. All these can be transformed into something. They have values. You can process them. You can process them to something very interesting. That was my little contribution.
Merci beaucoup, mesdames, pour vos témoignages vraiment.
And thank you very much for your contributions. It was really fascinating. I think everyone agrees in the room. I know you have so many questions, but we still have two panelists because we have one last topic to discuss. So I'll invite the people on the podium to sit just here on the front row. And Mr. Francois Bayou, if the pronunciation is not, if I'm misspelling your name, you can just tell me. The deputy secretary, executive of the Association for Development of the Pygmy people in Gabon. This is our last topic. The last topic is the Protocol of Nagoya, preservation of the traditional know-how and the integration of local communities.
Je suis d'accord, il faut des lunettes de soleil.
Yes, I know the lights are very strong. You need sunglasses. Do you want to come to the podium or you want to stay there?
Merci, Madame la modératrice, pour
Thank you, dear moderator, for giving me the floor. Thank you, dear ministers, distinguished participants, all protocols duly observed. Good afternoon. It's an honor to take the floor to share our experiences in terms of APA with you. And before I begin, I'd like to thank the organizers for inviting me to partake in this experience. Being before you here reminds me a negotiation story 13 years ago. 13 years ago, because the Protocol of Nagoya we talked about was adopted on October 29, 2010 in Nagoya. And the history of negotiation is because I was part of the negotiator group, the African negotiator group, so it was tough. I would say a few minutes from a failure to like in Copenhagen, we were announced with the arrival of the president of Gabon, His Excellency Ali Bongo Ondimba, President of the Republic and Head of State, and for us, it gave us courage. It gave us courage. We gave our best to get to this protocol. And I'm so proud to be in Gabon and talk about the Nagoya Protocol because Gabon was the first country in the world to ratify this protocol, member countries of the COMEFAC. And after Gabon, and there was Rwanda. So you perfectly understand the satisfaction I draw when we talk about this protocol in Central Africa, where the example was given. Now, the panelists who came before me set the stage, but if you listen keenly, the different interventions, science, there was science, there was the private sector. No one said how they share the advantages of the resources, depositories, or the traditional knowledge associated to these genetic resources. And that is the problem. This is what we claimed in Nagoya. One needs to understand that when we talk about APA, this is the third object. Is there anyone here who can help us to open this presentation? This is the third objective on the diversity, the biological diversity. Except that since 1992 that we ratified this intervention, we are just clung to do items, the sustainable development, and we forget the depository countries. Recently in Montreal, we were invited to go beyond the target 3030, continue to conserve, continue to do the sustainable use. But once you attack the share of the advantages from these resources, it becomes a problem. The negotiations lagged behind again and again because there were so many things to debate, and this is how the digital issue of uh, resources came up, because we can even do without this forest. I'll not come back on this issue, but I'd like to just tell you that the Protocol of Nagoya allows you to better preserve the resources if the advantages or the benefits, the profits are shared. So here you have what my predecessors tried to present. Since 2011, you will see what the pharmaceutical industries are making as benefits when they are using our genetic resources. Pharmaceutical industry in 2019, sorry, in 2011, 955 billion. The cosmetic, 426 billion. What are the countries providing these resources have had from these? Nothing. We can continue. The value of our biodiversity, the economic value. Look at this little frog. You know, the woman was talking about the banana. I'm taking the example of this frog. If you sell this frog, it's about 40 euros. But the pharmaceutical industry use the substance produced by the skin. 1 gram is 950 euros. If you multiply it by 1,000, this would be 190 million per kilogram. This is just to tell you that this species has more value alive than dead. But the benefits from the use of these resources, are they going to be shared with the countries owning this species? I'm not sure. I can continue with the other species. I took the example of the Nancia chlorantha that we use in pharmacope. Here you have the different products from the use of this resource. It may seem very low. You know, these figures were 10 years ago, and how many bottles are being sold every day, and how much money it generates. You know, these species that you can find in Cameroon, Angola, Congo, and Gabon, these are the countries where you can find these species. I can go on. The yoimbe, the yoimbe. This is a very efficient plant, and these are the products that came from these species. But where are the profits? Where are the profits? The CDB was clear enough. Third objective, the fair sharing of the profits issued from the use of these genetic resources. The pharmaceutical firms, after the use of, you know, the benefits they should share some part of these profits, because you do not go from the ground or from scratch. It's based on the traditional knowledge. But uh, do these communities benefit or have something in return for those who contributed to the negotiations of the convention in 1999 or 91? Sorry, you would recall that the first objective was the sharing of the profits, sustainable use to conserve or to preserve. This is how it was set up, but we did not respect that. As in every negotiation, we talked about CITES. Maybe I'll talk about it later. We adopted what you can see, preservation, this is what the brain keeps in mind, sustainable preservation. And when we get to the third objective, no sharing. So this is the reason why the international community asked for a negotiation of a treaty that is called the Nagoya Protocol in order to solve all these issues, so that finally we can reach a fair share of the profits that are issued from the genetical use of these resources. I'm being told we do not have any time left, so maybe I'll just tell you what we try to do in Central Africa to give a conclusion and give the floor to the other panelists. When we will have the opportunity, maybe we will go further in this presentation. So what we did after the adoption of the protocol, the Commission of the Central African Forest of Harmonization of Industry Regulation in Central Africa, assisted these countries in the ratification process of the protocol. So today, the 11 countries member of WMIFAC have ratified the convention and developed APA protocols and also have legislation. We already have two countries with the APA regulations. They also developed what we call the process to obtain the previous consent in order to have access to the genetic resource. I will stop here, and when we go to the debate, maybe we will discuss more. Thank you much. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. So I'm now going to give the floor to Mr. Denis Massambe. You are the founder and president of the Association for the Culture of Peoples in Gabon. So we are so interested in listening to your presentation.
Chez nous au Gabon,
Gabon here, when we meet to congratulate ourselves or to greet ourselves, we say Mbolo Amen. Mbolo Amen. Thank you very much. I'm not just talking about the association of the Tokume people of Gabon, but I'm talking about the whole Pygmy population of Gabon. At that title, I'm not going to brag, not to recognize the efforts of all the others who have succeeded in this world with our knowledge, with our innovation, and our traditional practices. And today, everything happening in this world is the criminality of our culture. You can talk about all the problems and all the scourges happening, but the criminality of our ancestral culture is the scourge today. Today you talk about the forest. Can you imagine how many autochthon people, how many indigenous people are here to listen to us? It's a regret. This country that you, the so-called modernized people, I mean, the country that you are destroying, know that it's our life. It's our life that we are destroying, all of us, our lives. For the preservation of biodiversity to the Pygmy people, it can only happen through the rights, initiatic rights. It is in these initiatic rights that we can teach the children about how to behave, how he should work, how he should live. In the initiatic rights, we also have the learning of knowledge. How can we get to to heal ourselves in the forest without bisturi? How do we get to heal ourselves and get boussoles without devices in order to move in the forests of the Congo Basin? We, the Pygmy people of Gabon and the countries of the Congo Basin, so within our network called RIPALEG, the headquarters of which is in Brazzaville, we have some sorrows. And that is, we do not want to cause, wrongs to people. We do not want to wrong other people. So you have copied a lot from us. And now, whatever you have presented here, these are your products. But they have never said that it is a pygmy who has shown us the forest where we went to pick those seeds or those roots. Injustice. From all the the financings that you have, all the fundings that you have today, there's no recognition. There's no recognition toward, the holders, the basic holders. We are people who only live from oral culture. Our culture is in our head. How can we neglect a community like this one to the detriment of a simple paper called money? We do not have written documents. It's here in our heads. It's in our heads. And we want our documents to be present there because you want the globalization to be within everybody's reach. So we want today our knowledge to, all our traditional knowledge be documented, be written. And our discoveries be written as well. Our innovations be written. And this is our right. Because in the fair share, these are words which are uttered. We have nothing in our villages. They even say that we have nothing in the tourism happening in our villages, and then we receive nothing. The Association of the Pygmy People of Gabon have received in 2005 through Omar Bongo, who has wished that this association get in touch with all the other communities of Gabon, and that's what we've done. Just to tell you, we have a mapping of the pygmies places all over Gabon. In 2005, we have presented to Bongo, a figure demography of the indigenous population of Gabon. And today, during this ceremony, it is a regret for us because you are not going to see one single pygmy, and I'm not sure you're going to visit any of our villages. We would wish that it be in a countryside of Libreville. You would come to dance with us. You would come to eat with us. You would come to sleep with us so that you feel the weight of knowledge and innovation and traditional practices. And today you are bragging with all this without recognizing, The Association of the Pygmy People of Gabon thank the leaders of Gabon. And then we also thank the President of the Republic, Ali Bongo Ondimba, the Minister of Water and Forestry, and all the members of the government. We have decided to come and present, not to claim, but to present the dream of the Pygmy people of the Congo Basin. The dream, not just of Gabon, but the dream of the Pygmy people of the Congo Basin. We have an oral culture, and we wanted to go from oral to written. we do not have pharmacy. We do not have modern pharmacy. We wanted to bring our contribution, our modern contribution to the modern pharmacy today. Just like health, just like health has gone through all the traditional medicine in Gabon, and we would like to urge them to come to the others so that we be together. The Association of the Pygmy People of Gabon demands everybody here to support or to assist the project that we have, which is about creating a valuing center in order to value the traditional knowledge of the Pygmy people. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Mr., for your words. So we have, we are 4 minutes late, and it's unbearable for me. So we've got some time for the questions. I will propose that we take 3 questions, and do please present yourselves and say the person to whom your questions are addressed so that the person can. So we are going to start with you, because right after that we have the Minister of State who is waiting in order to close. So you have to be a little bit short. So I will just take 3 questions. So the 3 questions, yeah, you there, sir there, and then you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Davin Busu. I'm the counselor of the head of state. I have the opportunity and the chance, to work on sustainable development issues, and I am in love with the heritage, the national heritage of the culture of Gabon. It's not a question that I'm going to ask, but it's just a contribution that I'm going to make. Yes, madam, it's a contribution. Well, I would like us to be mindful of what we say when we talk about forests, because it is very important that we talk right from the paradigm of Gabon, because we are in Gabon. And in Gabon, the forest is first of all a sanctuary. So let's be mindful of these words. The forest, first of all, is a sanctuary. And that's the reason why it is important when we talk about forests to associate to the approach that we associate the expert in human science, the pygmies, like the Bantus. Right now, when we listen to what happened right now, we come to the conclusion, and then we wonder, in which spirit are we? Because there are some stakes, and there's a great potential. But are we going to be in a capitalistic pattern? With which spirit are we going to share the wealth? Because we are talking about resources which are out of the food products. Just to talk about, for example, Iboga. It's a national heritage. So when the domain of economy finishes by, getting associated to environment and sacred, so it is very important, if you want to use these opportunities in a very wise way, it will be important for us to, to associate the experts in environment so that they will tell us in which spirits we would like to use these opportunities. And what is the economic pattern of the pygmy, of the Bantu? What is our conception of the sharing of the wealth? Thank you. Morning, everyone. My name is Henri Mayo. I am a doctor in science of timber, and I've worked on valuing the waste of woods, and I really appreciated the intervention of Madame Landry. And be sure that there are so many Gabonese who are interested in wood waste, and that's what I've been working on. So my question is addressed to the creator of the brand Lucy. Lucy, I would like to know if you work with research laboratories in terms of identification, in terms of molecular identification of the products that you are using, in terms of scientific credibility. But I also have another question addressed to the responsible of the Cosmetic Valley. So I would like to know, what are the methods of extraction that you use within the companies based on the platforms of the Valley Cosmetic, and I've heard that the woman was saying that the microwaves but this is on the banana. But is it possible to apply it on the wood seeds? If you do you have an example of such a project on the tropical woods? Because when I worked on our woods, for example, our molecules are very strong because the woods of the temperate zones have molecules which are not very heavy, so it's easy. But when I worked on our woods, sometimes we had identification difficulties regarding the molecules. So our molecules are very heavy. So I would like to know if there are things which have been done on them and what are the outcomes, and of course if they are valued.
Alors, pour Cosmetic Valley, donc une question un petit peu technique sur les technologies d'extraction. Il y a beaucoup d'investissements aujourd'hui.
You know, there's a lot of investment being made in France for a new process to be implemented to extract in a cleaner way the assets of the plant. We talk about microwave and the supercritical extraction, you know, the traditional extraction with water. And I think today, not in the beginning, but there's a willingness to go and explore the content and extract different types of plant, even the plants that we've known for very long. So this is a research field with universities and companies to strengthen our codes. I'm not thinking about a specific example, but I think solutions. Now, do you have one? I just wanted to say for the categorization, we've had problems on the banana tree, and there are molecules that are not in the plant, and sometimes the reagents do not always are not always reactive. So we worked on methods of identification with the pH, and then we need to find new methods of categorization, of identification, because there's no historical process. And to come back to the technologies, you know, you can have polar to polar technologies, and if you take the CO2 or the microwave or the ultrasound, you're going to have different results. So there are different solutions, so many of them, and by using the ultrasound or the microwave, you will extract only a specific type. So there's so many different techniques on the polarity of molecules. But I don't know if you did the categorization already. There are so many solutions that you can use. You know, for the products, it's totally natural process. These are traditional techniques of soap making with using agricultural products. So I cannot give you the operation how we proceed, because I'm passionate. I know I can just give you the formula, but I'm not supposed to. So we kept the traditional way of extraction without any perfume. So the method of soap making, a lot of people know how we manufacture soap. So in terms of certification, I filed a request for certification. You know that we do not have all the structures for certification, so only through the government. What I'm asking is facilitation to for the access to laboratories in order to get out of the country and be at the level of the international norms. I don't know if you have any other question. Please use the microphone. Use the microphone. You know, I had to go to Cameroon. They have so many laboratories in Cameroon. This is a brother country. I was able to have the training over there, and since I didn't have the training, I was able to train young other Gabonese working with me. Thank you. No, first of all, Mr. Busu, and then Dr. behind Mr. Busu. The answer is yes. The workshop, this round table maybe did not associate anthropologists, but myself, I taught at the University of Mabongo.
C'est vrai que justement, l'ethnomédecine et l'ethnopharmacopée
Medicine and pharmacopea are disciplines that associate anthropologists and sociologists and pharmacists. For the next workshop, Madame Kumba, Ambassador of Gabon in New York, will take into account your remarks. But I recognize some teachers from the University of Mabongo, from the Faculty of Letter and Human Sciences. Rest assured that information will be transferred. Now, to give an answer to the Doctor in Science and Madame Dossi, I'm surprised that you had to go to Cameroon. First of all, gumbo is a malvasi, and the property of malvasi, the first thesis written by doctorate written by the pharmacy of Libreville, who worked on Malvaceae, which is antibacterial and anti-fungus. The plants do not look alike, and they are made up of components that we call physilates. So you had fluid that will be used to facilitate birth delivery and also to create soap. Madame Beatty talked about the saponosite, and even Madame Landry, the components of saponosite. You're saying that your molecules are heavy. If they are heavy, and I told Madame Beatty what she said, it's only because you have because when you take the janine in the janine in the natural substance will not have more molecular masses that will reach the level of 300. So your products will be adapted for the modern method, for the microwave, and the credit natural extraction. Thank you very much. I think we can go on for hours, maybe outside, because there are so many things to explore. Before I give the floor to His Excellency, I would like to thank our panelists for everything you presented. It was really amazing. And thanks to the organizer, the ambassador, your team, the government from France for organizing this panel, Your Excellencies, the Minister of State, Minister of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises. Please, can you come for the closing ceremony? Thank you very much.
Bien, comme vous avez fait la clôture.
Since there was a closing of the panel, I'll just close the pillar. Ladies and gentlemen, at a time when we are coming to the end of the discussions of this pillar, it's my pleasure to congratulate you for the quality of your contributions, for the testimonies, for the experience sharing, and congratulate you for the appropriateness of the contributions, and also congratulate the panelists and the moderators, and also thank the audience. The quality of this discussion for this theme, I am convinced, will be a notable contribution to the resolutions produced to the head of state. I am also convinced that we know exactly why we really need to protect our forest. We also know how we need to do more for our planet. We know the Earth does not lie. The Earth is rich in advice. We know the companies must do their level best to develop and invest in development and research in order to preserve this green industry. Everyone looks a little bit tired. We need to move to something else, but before we go on, I would like each and everyone to meditate on these few words of Hans Jonas. Hans Jonas is a German philosopher who died in United States, who said, let's act in a way that the effects of the action are not a destruction for the a possible uh, future life. Let's act in such a way that the effects of the action are not a destruction for a possible future life. We have just acted to protect the planet. Let's make sure that this action is sustainable and does not destroy mankind. You have a good evening.